Hello, everybody, and welcome to Untethered.tv. I'm your host and founder, Rob Woodbridge. Again, folks, this is what brings me great joy. I have this pride of my city. It's Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, the nation's capital, which means the capital of Canada, a great technology hub, and I have an amazing company here to talk to us about some deep-seated, important issues. The company is Graphite Software. The man on the other side of the screen is Alec Main. He's the co-founder and CEO. Hi, Alec.
Hello, Rob. Thanks for that great introduction.
Well, we are going to be talking about a bunch of things, and you know, I love this because you are a true startup, but with a veteran team. You've been doing this for a couple of years. You have slowly been trying to formulate your strategy. I think you've locked onto something that is pretty cool. We're going to be talking about how what you guys do helps manage identities, manage secure spaces, maybe a little bit of branding spaces. We're going to be going into a little bit of detail about this. Probably going to gripe about the weather a couple of times throughout this whole thing. Maybe more than a couple of times throughout this whole thing, but we're going to talk business and this transformation that is going on with your company, Graphite. So before we get into the details, I got to give you a few minutes to describe what you guys are doing with Graphite.
Yeah, sure. We have developed a virtualization solution for Android, for smartphones and tablets, and it allows you to divide your phone up into multiple different spaces, which we call secure spaces. So the company name's Graphite Software, which was named after, I think, a golf habit that one of my co-founders has. But the product name itself is actually Secure Spaces. And it really, there's been dual persona type solutions. BlackBerry has the balance solutions, ways of dividing things up into work and play. And what we've done is come up with a very lightweight but secure solution that does that. But allows you to create many, many different spaces. And this has really, I think, opened up all sorts of possibilities and made us realize that we can use this in many, many different ways, and that, life is a lot more complicated than just work and play. My personal life is, multifaceted. I wish it was just all play.
Don't we all?
So there's many different ways to use this, and there's lots of, interesting applications, like you mentioned, with maybe mobile marketing that we can talk about as well. So that's the kind of core product.
Why do this? Certainly BlackBerry was very adamant about this whole process between, I call it the mullet, right? Which is like I'll party from the front and I'll work from the front and I'll party from the back. And when you talk about dual personas, you've got the work and you got the play. That resonated with a whole bunch of people around bring your own device to work, the movement that's going on. But why get into this space? What did you guys see that was so important that you had to jump in?
Yeah, it probably goes back. We could even go back and talk about the history of and our expertise and the work we've done in the previous companies, which kind of led into a lot of this.
Well, you do. You have a very, very well-established, mature team with exits behind. Like you guys know what business. So it might be a good idea to give perspective about the team that you have behind you.
Yeah. I've formed the company with two good friends and colleagues from our previous company. So Paul Litva and Ron Vandergeest, and the previous company was called Cloakware. And Cloakware was a funny little Ottawa company, which was not kind of the usual networking gear company. Really geeky company. We took compiler technology and security guys, so the two geeky ends of computer science, and combined them into one. And we had a very successful company. We were deployed on billions of devices, and we did obfuscation and key hiding and hardening of software, which sounds a bit counterintuitive. But our customers were Microsoft, Apple, very likely you're using it today, Cisco, Intel, AMD, all those guys, Nokia, BlackBerry. And in 2007, we were sold to a company called Iridetto, who still has a great presence and a great office here in Ottawa. We were sold for $72 million. So a nice exit for our VCs. And all those days, we were actually doing DRM, digital rights management. So we were protecting content. We've always been, I guess, on the white hat side of things. We didn't have a hacking arm and a protection arm. We were really trying to prevent people from hacking client solutions and hacking software and devices. And so that was the basis of our expertise. And we're very familiar with all different platforms and all the different techniques. And I guess it was probably two things. One was that we, wanted to move on beyond content protection. I mean, a lot of those problems had been solved. And we also saw a lot of that, moving out of the application level, moving down more into hardware, much more established, technology and approaches there. We also wanted to get into something that wasn't, that everybody didn't hate.
DRM, yeah. It's like it's so controlling, right? Yes. And everybody has a reaction to that.
Yes. It's hard to explain to your kids, yeah, I'm the one that's preventing you from ripping that.
That's right. The reason you can't share that with your friends is because of me. Thank you. Yeah. Doesn't go over very well.
So we wanted to take that kind of expertise and our interest in client security, and also the fact that we saw that security was needed to move more into the operating system. So Android's been just such a tremendous success, but it has a clear market need for some improved security. And we came up. We've been doing some work in this area already around what's known as the security enhanced Linux and security enhanced Android. Which are all operating system approaches for locking down the operating system against malware. And we also saw there was this big BYOD trend for bring your own device into the enterprise, and a lot of solutions around virtualization and things that are happening on the virtualization world on the server. You have to ask yourself, well, why can't we do that on the client? There's also some, technology, called Linux containers that are starting to make inroads onto the server. And we're like, well, can't we bring this to the client to create really virtual spaces? But when we went about this, we said, we're not coming at this from our traditional white hat perspective of the enterprise. Let's look at this from the consumer perspective as well, because I want a security product that I can use myself. And actually, that's probably the most exciting thing about our product that we have is that everybody in the company uses it. We love it. And I can show it to people and say, this is what I do. And this is the benefit to you, Rob, or my wife, or whatever. And they all get it. They all have their different reasons why they like it, but they all get it. And so that's quite a change from being a security compiler company, right? Where we're doing software hardening using mathematical transforms, which nobody understood. So this is the fun part of it. And that's, I guess, a bit of the history of that.
It's funny because, you go from something that is very, very understandable, sometimes loathed, right, which is DRM, but there's an established market. You understand the principles behind controlling distribution of content to people who haven't paid for it, in its simplest form. And then you move into this kind of thing, managing spaces and secure spaces, where maybe RIM's announcement back in the day with with OS 10, you kind of brought that to the forefront. But is there a difference now with what you're doing, where you had an established market play and you exited from that, and now you're trying to establish or become a beachhead in this industry? What's the difference between those two businesses that way?
Oh yeah, I mean it's very different, but I think the whole kind of we call it domain isolation or the virtualization on the client. I mean, this has been around for a while. I mean, they've been trying to work on this. The big problems have actually been performance to a large extent. So there's type 1 and type 2 hypervisor solutions, and the problem is that you have to either have such a huge integration overhead and rewrite all your drivers, which nobody wants to do, or you can do it a one-off and sell it. There are $2,000 phones you can buy that have all this stuff in it.
The black phone, yes.
Yeah. I need to know more about black phone, but yeah, I mean, you can get them there's all sorts of custom image people that'll produce an image that's got hypervisors in it, and it's meant for highly secure scenarios. But it's not consumer driven.
Right.
And even the problem with all those solutions, any kind of hypervisor solution, is you can really run two images. You can run a guest image and a host image, or a work and a play. And so when people often talk about work and play, it's not that not that that's what the market wanted. That's what the technical limitations were. Classic technology. We're driven by the technology, not about what people really want. So when we started looking at this, we said, we can provide a solution that is performant. We don't believe in the security versus usability trade-off. We don't believe in that. Yeah. We think we can overcome that. We can have a solution that's secure and it is usable, and actually we use it every day and it is very performant. And so that's really that's a key part that's different here. It's an evolution. It's the next level of solutions addressing the same problem. So from that perspective, I think it's a known area. We've just come up with what we believe is a better approach to it. But it's also open because now we allow multiple spaces. It's opened up new use cases. So yeah, there's a personal use case, and we can talk about that in more detail. But if you want to control your identity and the amount of personal information that's leaking, I can't prevent the NSA from sniffing server traffic. I mean, that's going to happen. But we can give you better control on your device of how you bucket your apps and your information, and make it better map how you live your life, I think. And then we can also have delegated spaces that are managed by third parties, which is another fascinating topic, and just beginning of the new possibilities and new ways of thinking about exploring and discovering apps and receiving information.
Well, talk about that. Managing your identity for a second from the consumer side. Why is that important for the consumer when it comes to managing identity, controlling the experience, controlling what information is being relayed to the applications? There's got to be some kind of catalyst for you guys to realize that that's important.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is that on Android, even though it's got a bad reputation from a security perspective, Google's been doing a reasonably good job at least on Google Play, of filtering out the bad stuff. And yeah, if you don't go to the nether world of the internet and sideload apps, you're probably in a pretty good shape. The problem is that the whole permissions model is broken, and that it's the old click-through. We've all faced this on the PC, and it's happening again on Android. You want an app, you go to the Play Store or any store. It says, the other day I was getting a charades app. We got a bunch of people there, some kids trying to find some kind of game to play, adults, teenagers. Why don't we play charades? Okay, well, we can all write on pieces. We'll just get an app for that.
Nice.
So you go on. Oh, there's a charades app. I click on it, accept, and it comes up with the permissions. Yep. So here I am in that moment. What are my choices?
Yeah.
I got everybody waiting.
Peer pressure. They're looking at you.
Charades app.
Yeah.
I can either say I accept or I don't download the app. And what does it want? It wants access to my phone records, my contacts, my storage, and some of it's maybe reasonable. It wants access to the network, all this kind of stuff. And so what do? I say yes, and I download it. And the problem is that my phone, without secure spaces, my phone only has one space. It's a converged device. My whole life is on that phone. My personal emails, my work emails, everything. That app can go and look at anything, and that is exactly what they're doing. That was all that press a few weeks ago around NSA sniffing the ad networks or the Angry Birds traffic, because it's just, these are apps that are sucking information off the phone, transmitting it, unfortunately, in the clear, because you really don't know whether you can trust these apps. But under Android, you're given the choice of accept it or install it. And I've watched my kids. They download apps and they say, "Oh yeah, you just press accept there." Like nobody reads what the permissions are, right? So to me, that was a big problem. On my PC, and I tend to segregate things. I have different contexts for different times. And I feel that on Android or on your mobile phone, it's becoming this wonderful converged environment, but it's leaking a little bit more information than I'm comfortable with. So with secure spaces, it's very simple. I download Angry Birds or that charades app, and I move it into a space that has all sorts of games. It has all those kind of dubious things that I download, but it doesn't have any contacts in it. I don't have my email in it. I don't have any accounts. The apps work perfectly fine, but they can't suck my information off the phone because they're isolated. So that's a case of a personal use. And I think that there's always this, there's all the debate too in the press around security versus privacy, and that there's this trade-off. I don't believe that. I think we can achieve privacy. You can have control of your privacy and still have security or safety in the sense of, anti-terrorism and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, in response to the NSA stuff, Obama came out and said, well, you can't have 100% security and 100% privacy, and he's probably right.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have 100% of both of those, but it's not a zero-sum game. It's not 100% of one and zero of another, or 10% and 90%. No, we can achieve 95 and 95, or so, and that's kind of what's driven us on getting this product out there from a consumer perspective, and that's why we see personal use for ourselves, and that's what makes it. I can show it to my kids, and they immediately understand it.
Whether they implement what you're asking them or not is a different thing, because kids often don't listen to their parents, right? But do consumers realize this now? I think that more and more we're starting to see, retaliation or concern over breaches, right? There's many applications ask for permission and then go overboard and leverage your device as their own, right? And use your contacts in a way that you would never use your contacts. But do consumers really understand, that they need something like this?
Well, I mean, let's get realistic. No, I mean, it's a long education process. You and I understand that there's going to be power users. I mean, there's a certain segment of the population that understands it. I think it'll take a long time before everybody really understands it.
What do you think it's going to take?
As well, it's embedded in the operating system, so it's not like this is something you go to the App Store, download, bingo, bango, everything's taken care of. I mean, it's something we're embedding into the operating system. So this is a long-term game. It's an ecosystem game. We're going to have to educate people. The first people are the people that are aware of that. And my kids, they're not worried about permissions and stuff like that. But we also don't like the kind of all or nothing device access. So when we talk about personal spaces, we have a special version of personal spaces that we call an open space. It's exactly the same. You have your regular space. It's an exact copy of that virtual machine running, but there's no authentication on it. So it's quick access. It's meant for sharing. And so when I tell my kids about that, they love that, because there's a whole pile of things that they want to enter the PIN for, but then there's a bunch of stuff that they want to be able to just to access very quickly. They want to be able to give their phone to somebody to be able to use it, but they don't want them to be able to access. Yeah, and everybody's different. I mean, my son was like, I don't want somebody to go on Facebook and pretend it's me and do a post, right? Everybody has their own choice of what they want in their open space and what they don't want people to access, and that's fine. I mean, we're not saying you have to do it one way. You can pick it your own way, but that's another way of using it. And we've seen, on tablets, there's a solution for Android. It's called restricted profiles. That's a similar kind of approach. LG on their latest smartphone has a guest mode, which is a similar kind of thing. And there's been a tremendous response in the ability to have a quick access, access to certain things like maps and things like that. We're just taking it one step further, that we're actually providing the isolation there. So I don't have to have the app sitting in my owner space. I can just put it in the guest space. And yeah, when you're driving and somebody's next to you in the car, if you're smart, you should let them do the navigating rather than trying to drive and navigate. But maybe you don't want them to see that email that just came in. So there's all sorts of use cases.
Yeah. I think it's Snapchat and Facebook and all the messaging stuff. But you just paint this great picture. Like, I'm very controlling over my phone, as most human beings are, right? It's like kind of I loathe handing my phone over to anybody for anybody else to use, except for those circumstances, like you said, in the car, or to quiet a screaming child. One of those two instances.
Yes.
But I mean, I can understand that need to have open space, and then to have controlled or restricted space, and that's controlled personal, controlled home, or controlled personal and controlled work, right? So that there's certain things that are just too sensitive to be out there at home or at work, whatever it might be. Now, so I mean, this is a very cool concept. And then there's, I think of that open space as the middle of a Venn diagram, right? Where it's like the apps can overlap a little bit, and you've got those apps that everybody can use, and then you've got the apps that straddle work and play. But like, is this do the operating system, does Android? You're doing this embedded into the operating system. Is the sales pitch to them difficult now, or is it starting to get easier for them to understand what you guys are doing?
Well, I mean, for us, we're working with the device OEMs and the mobile operators. So yeah, the mobile operators love this. Actually, they want a simple MDM agnostic solution for workspaces. So our model is that for nobody's going to pay for privacy, unfortunately.
Nobody does. You pay for a lack of privacy, but you don't pay for privacy. That's right. Yes.
Yes. So our view is it's free to the consumer. It's free to the device OEMs. Really, it's when you want to use it for managed spaces, for workspaces. And so that's where we work with the mobile operators who are offering enterprise solutions and mobile managed services to enterprise customers. So that's really who we work with from a who's going to pay standpoint. And in that case, it's still a BYOD. We can fit into the traditional model. If the enterprise wants to buy the phone and they want to lock it all down, I mean, you can still do that. You're just creating two different spaces, and one can be wiped independently of the other. So, but we also support the scenario really where IT is a guest on your device. It's not the other way around.
Right. That's the way it should be.
I mean, there was all sorts of things, where on some of the apps, it exposed people had different accounts with different true personas, and it exposed their real persona to work, and then work found out things they weren't supposed to find out. So won't go into any of those details.
I liked it back, I long for those days back when I left the office, you knew nothing about me, right? I didn't share anything online. It was just, I was this guy from 9 to 5, and I was that guy from 5 to 9. But those days are over now, right? And certainly it's long gone. And
yeah.
But this must also.
We always said, you remember there was those cartoons, on the internet, nobody knows you're a dog.
Yes.
The problem right now is it's really tough to be a dog on the internet.
It's true. So true.
I mean, they know everything about you.
Yeah.
They really do. It's tremendously convenient at times, and you love it, but you don't want it all the time.
Yeah. So does this help? This must help then, the way that you guys have done these, these managed spaces. They also must help manage your identity in a way. Is control? Is that a better way to control your identity?
Yeah, control your identity. Yeah. I mean, it's up to you. So if you don't want to do it and you screw it up, I mean, yeah, it's up to you.
You learn your lesson pretty quickly.
You can set your accounts differently in different spaces, or you can have no accounts and no spaces. So it does allow you to become more anonymous. And I think that the internet maybe was in the old days was too anonymous, but there still is normal contextual situations where you want to be anonymous. And we often use the analogy, we call it the room analogy, but there's in your house you have many different rooms, and in my living room I have my family. I invite my friends into my living room, but I don't have the world into my living room. And in my bedroom, it's generally just my wife and I, unless there's a crying baby, of course.
Of course.
Not what you were thinking, Rob. Not what you were thinking.
No.
So there's different. Your life is like that. When you go into the media room, you want to relax. You don't want to be bugged by work emails. You want to watch your movie. You don't want things to be popping up. So we live life very differently. And when I go outside of my house, I have my neighborhood, my community, and there's the ballpark across the street. But when I go to watch a hockey game, I mean, I don't have to say who I am when I go into the hockey game. I'm anonymous. I can spill my beer if I want to. It's okay. And so
I can take off my shirt and paint my chest red and black in the colors of the Ottawa Senators, right?
That's where I saw you last.
Exactly.
The entire thing.
I have to wear some kind of mask all the time though. I don't like it. I want to be me, right? No.
Yeah, well, I think that there still is a time where certain anonymity is nice, and you can do stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think we're trying to enable that as well.
So this must play into the conversation around context, right? And I have this philosophy around applications and the temporary nature of applications based on my surroundings, right? Is that I don't like often downloading applications for an instance, right? The perfect example is what's going on right now, the Olympic Games, right? Is that I am immersed in the CBC application because it is everywhere I go, I can watch the Olympics, and it is the most amazing application on this planet. I've downloaded it on every device that I have, but I know that in 10 days from now or 7 days from now, or by the time you're watching this, everybody, I will have deleted the heck out of that application because it serves no value. It's a temporary application for me in context of the Olympics. And in 4 years, I will download it again, right?
Right.
So context must play a very important role in what you guys are doing, because I go through different contexts every day, and you guys are right in the middle there with your spaces, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's two points there. So there's context on a day-to-day basis, and then there's the concept of more temporary spaces. So because creating and managing and deleting spaces is can be done very quickly and without any penalty, it does create all sorts of new opportunities. So if we look at, and the Olympics is a great example, you can download an app, but that's maybe not how, well, there's a number of issues. One, how do you find that app? So there's app discovery. And then maybe that's not how you want to consume all that information. And are you getting the best of breed when you download whichever app you downloaded and you pick one? And so our concept is that you can take a space, and it could be an event space. It could be Mobile World Congress that I'm going to next week. It could be, hope you're publishing this soon. It could be for an interest, maybe a new movie that came out. It could be a certain celebrity that I'm following. I mean, it could be a certain brand that I follow, Ferrari or like F1 racing, whatever it may be. But the idea is that you can download a space and it pre-populates it with a bunch of different apps.
Beautiful.
And then I can get the best of breed. I get my RSS feeds, I get Facebook, I get Twitter, but it's all been tailored. I get YouTube. I could download clips. I can have multiple apps if I want to. The Mobile World Congress is a great one. I mean, I can go to the Mobile World Congress app, but I also need to know how to get around Barcelona on the subway. I also want to know what are the best restaurants. So why don't I pick best of breed apps and download that to that space, and then I get everything, and it's actually much easier for the event organizer. I mean, they can still have their own app or not, but they can really do app aggregation, and this provides for new ways to discover apps, new ways to monetize that from a marketing standpoint. Banner ads and a lot of the things I've been doing on PC hasn't really translated into mobile very well. It creates a whole new shelf space, because right now, you only have one home screen or a couple of home screens that expand over time and eventually try to consolidate them. This allows you to create new shelf space in a separate space. That's, a Sochi Olympic space. All sorts of opportunity. I think, personally, I think that's some of the most exciting stuff with this, is that you can do new app discovery, new content, app aggregation on the endpoint, and it's a new way to interact, and it's safe. So, some people say, oh, what, are you a security company? What are you? Well, in the end, security is an underlying foundational type thing. When I know that these spaces are separate and I trust it, I will download all stuff spontaneously. I will get more apps. I will do whatever. I know my own stuff is safe. The thing that bugs me the most on the PC is, maybe I shouldn't name the companies, but they put in that Ask toolbar. You get these various things. You install something, and then suddenly you have a new toolbar and this and that, and it's popping up, and then you spend 10 minutes deleting it. I don't want my own stuff to be messed with. I have it set up. I have my owner space set up with a picture of my kids and my wife. I want that to stay the same. Yet in an Olympic space, I can have a separate launcher in there. The customization opportunities in Android are just so amazing and so fantastic, but I don't necessarily want to have the launcher take over everything on the device. Look at Facebook Home.
Yeah.
Great example.
That didn't work so well.
Didn't work.
No.
If you put Facebook Home into a space, isn't that perfect? You pop into that. That's everything Facebook. It's the total immersive Facebook experience. but it doesn't take over your personal area.
You know, you brought up so many points there. Like it's amazing. Like, Facebook Home did not work. Like it just did not work because it was to control the experience in a Facebook look. But Facebook Paper also may not have worked. It reached a zenith, I think, in a couple of days, and then it disappeared. However, the concept what you're talking about here is containment. Like if you look at how, like especially in iOS, and I'm an iOS guy. But if you think about how we group our applications in iOS, and the same as in Androids, if you've got folders, and the way that we've been doing it since the common GUI was created on the desktop, you've grouped them by folders and the labels are, as you see here, like navigation, news, audio, communications, right? So you group by concepts, not by context, which is exactly that. So Sochi, right? Group by Olympic brands, right? Sports. Like I'm a baseball fan, right? And a hockey fan. And where's my hockey page, right? And that's what we're talking about here is around those branding spaces that really get exciting because, I mean, I'm a member of Goodreads. And it's an Amazon-owned company, and I use my social network to make recommendations. And RDO, the same thing for music. These are my dashboards of recommendations for media that I want to consume. And I think of what you guys are doing with branded spaces as the same kind of thing. Is that I participate, and then somebody is pushing me some great, amazing content to my device that is very low energy for me to find, but high impact when I actually do get in there and explore.
Yeah, and the interesting concept behind all that is whether you want to have a curated experience or not.
Right.
Like, let's face it, the web has been built upon people doing their own thing and finding their own stuff, and largely it's, text searches, and Google's done really, really well on that. Is there a role for curated experiences? Because, I was in the content area, so we're all talking about cord cutting and, getting rid of the, why watch movies that, I want to watch everything on my own time. And, my kids even were saying, well, can't I remember putting in a VCR tape or one, they said, I want to, jump.
A what?
Oh, there is no jump.
What?
They're like, what? No jump?
Like, Dad.
But is there a role for that? Is there a role for programmed content? I mean, that's an interesting kind of background question.
Right.
And I was reading an article in the Financial Post just the other day about Twitter. And they're saying, the whole problem is to become mainstream, we have to somehow have a curated experience to cut out the noise. And, I hate to say it, but I find that personally with Twitter is that there's just too much noise. I have too much stuff already. I can't absorb all that. I'd much rather have my colleagues at work, forward me stuff that I read. And essentially they're doing the curating for me. I'm lazy in the end. But that's exactly the problem that Twitter is faced. And this article I read, they were using the word curated. How do we go mainstream by curating the stream to something, I mean, as you say, recommended streams? And so, yeah, that's a problem that's only going to explode because there's even more and more content and there's more and more information. So I do see value in a curated space. And from our perspective, it's great because it's actually the exact same technology we're using for enterprise spaces, right? I mean, enterprise is also a curated space. Okay, they tend to lock things down.
Controlled.
And they aren't as fun.
I think it's controlled, not curated. It's like, yes, it's benevolent dictatorship sometimes, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
But you can always just delete them if you want. Of course, they'll delete you if they want to.
Exactly. The moment that you can't log into your secure space means that you no longer have a job with the company, right? That's the new way to get fired. It's not only a text message. Yeah. But it's that's a fascinating use for something like this. Is that I bring it back to the idea of temporary nature of something like a branded space. And I know we've jumped into this, but it's like, say I go to the Ottawa Senators game and I go to the Canadian Tire Center, and the moment that I walk in there and I've got an Android application, you guys are installed on that, and literally, I'm there. Would there ever be like an opportunity to just have a little icon that appears like, bing, like everything to know about the Ottawa Senators right there. So while I'm in there, it pops up on my screen in the common area. I can move it around if I want. But I've given it permission, and then it gives me everything that I need to know about the Senators. Like not only that, but the Canadian Tire Centre, ticket sales, where my seat is, concessions, all that kind of stuff. And then when I leave, it gives me the option to keep something, but I decide. But if I decide not to keep it, it just disappears until the next time I'm there. Is that is that kind of a contextual thing that we're going to start to see, Wu?
Yeah, well, I won't say that we're there yet, but
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, you should, contextually could be done that way, and across personal spaces as well.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, the kind of features we're implementing now is okay, I've attached to my work Wi-Fi, and so I know based on the Wi-Fi, I mean, these are the things that are happening, or time of day, that kind of stuff. So, in some respects, it's like Aviate. I mean, Aviate was a smart launcher company.
Yeah.
So, we're doing the same thing. I mean, you can change the launcher between every space. It's just that there's a data and app isolation. So there's a bit more control. There's better personal privacy. You don't have everything converged in one space that's then sucking all your data. It gives the user control. It gives the enterprise control. It allows you, because of that security foundation, it allows you to, as you walk into Canadian Tire Centre at the beginning of the season, you just click on that QR code on the wall, and it's there. And then, yeah, ideally it would become very contextual, so it only pops up when relevant. That would be perfect. Or maybe a warranty. There's a game on tonight, So do you want to stream it in this space or not? And you can say no, whatever.
I mean, that would be amazing, right? So you create the dialogue with the building, so to speak, right? And then whenever you walk back into that building, or whenever there's a game, it tries to recreate, notify you of, maybe reestablish that dialogue with the team. See, that stuff is very interesting, and I think we're loath as humans. Like I'm loath to commit to applications, right? I mean, we all use 6, 7, 8 applications in a day, and they're all the same. But I believe that there's an opportunity here to say, listen, you know what? I'm in game mode. I'm 100% in game mode. Just give me the screen with the game, and I need everything to know about that game at that moment. Like the Olympics, as much as the CBC application, which is amazing, because of one great thing, which is I hit stream and I get to watch every sport in the Olympics. But one thing that they don't do very well is context. They don't give me great information in a snapshot, and I need that. But I'm not getting that from CBC. I have to go elsewhere. So, there's so many opportunities for what you guys are doing here. How do you maintain that some sort of semblance of a roadmap and a vision when things kind of just escalate the way they can?
Oh well, I mean, that's a great problem to have.
Yeah, so. I guess you guys are veterans at doing this anyways. So.
Oh yeah. No, actually, I think the more exciting part is that we're getting fantastic response and feedback, and it's driving more and more features and things that we wouldn't have known about, right? So, it's like all this stuff. We'll have to adapt and build on it, and there seems to be ample ideas as to make things better and more interesting and more contextual. We're also working with a lot of the very strict security folks in the world as well. So, what they like is that, initially we went about it from an isolation standpoint. So, a lot of systems are built with, it's like Swiss cheese with lots of holes, and then everybody spends forever trying to patch those holes. But we actually went from it with a very strong isolation standpoint. So they're really, really isolated. And if anything, what we're doing is, poking little wormholes through to, enable some additional use cases to transfer information between the spaces, and then bring more contextual awareness. Some of the people we're talking to don't want you to even know that space is on that device. So yeah, many different requirements there. So lots of fun stuff, but there is still the security element, and the whole MDM enterprise side. There's a big debate as to how complicated does that need to be as well. So we get into a lot of those discussions about people who do want to take over the whole device, whereas we really are kind of saying, look, we're trying to come at this from a you're a guest on the device, and you don't automatically control the whole device. But it is amazing talking to enterprises, and especially being over in Korea with the device manufacturers. It's amazing. It's hard to do a demo because they put tape all over your device. Everything's locked down. I mean, when you're at work, you can't take pictures. Your audio, your microphone doesn't work, or any of those kind of stuff. So we do face probably our biggest challenge is that kind of pull between some tremendous security stuff and then all this really exciting, fun, contextual marketing stuff and customization. And we love all that, but there's this constant pull between both sides of the business.
I think the extreme is I gave a presentation at the American Embassy here in Ottawa, and I don't know if you've ever been in the American Embassy in Ottawa. You check your phone at the door, right? So they give you an envelope, you put your phone in an envelope, and you can't bring your phone into the embassy. And then so I was up presenting it, and there's I was presenting to 100 CEOs, senior executives from around the world that have come here to talk about mobile, and I was presenting to them, and I said, just out of curiosity, how many people would download a stray or sideload an app? And nobody's hand went up because that was the wrong thing to do, right? It's maybe a couple of hands went up, and I said, okay, yeah. So you think that that's the biggest security breach you could possibly have? And they're like, yeah, we wouldn't want to do that. Our IT department would flip. And I'm like, okay, yeah. How many left their phones with a security guard at the front entrance of the embassy? Everybody's hand went up, and I went, so wait, you left your phone in its entirety with somebody you don't know in a manila envelope in a box by the front door of this building, and you won't sideload an app? Which is a security breach? Which is the bigger opportunity? You could go out there and your phone will be gone, right? You guys are powerful guys. So it's the understanding of the security challenge that people have with these devices. You don't know until you've lost it. So what is it going to take? What do you think it's going to take for people to realize? This is my last question. It's a doozer. What do you think it's going to take for people to realize that, listen, you have to control your identity, whether it's on your device or online, but predominantly on your device, before you wake up one day and it's completely exposed or there's a huge breach? What is it going to take for people to realize that? Is it going to be a big breach?
Oh, well, I think it's happening all the time. So that's already happened. I guess the question is really, can we get that cat back in the bag?
That's a big question.
Yeah. I think it's funny you say that scenario because, specifically some of the stuff we've done, some of the improvements around SE Android, which is security enhanced Android. So it's mandatory access control, which prevents really user space apps from gaining root access. Those kind of scenarios are getting hard to do on all of these devices. And so I don't think the threat, it's, the PC is just still such a, opportune area that, maybe the real security hackers will focus on Android more. But, when you have to look at those stats, when I say the number of malware and all that stuff, often they're talking about spyware and adware and other things like that are, quasi-legitimate. You're downloading it correctly. But you're right. The big threat is losing your device.
It's crazy.
And actually, if you leave it on, I'd recommend, at least if you're going to put it in the manila envelope, make sure you turn it off.
Yes.
But if you leave it on, there's all sorts of mechanisms for, connecting in through the USB port. There's crazy attacks like hacking the power chargers and all that kind of stuff in airports. But yeah, if you can get a phone that's running, it's kind of trivial to go in and have total access, strip off the system image, and away you go. And yeah, so you need encryption, you need all these kind of things. It's a typical layered attack, different techniques for different threats. But yeah, we can cover all those kind of things. But from a personal consumer standpoint, I think, is there going to be one? It's happening all the time.
Yeah.
I got the letter from Adobe. It seemed like half of my friends got the letter from Adobe about the breach. So that's happening. I think that, that we need to get the technology out there. We need to get the people aware of it. We need to allow them to start to control their identity. We can have the discussion about biometrics and how that all plays. I know, there was the earlier video you did with Ping Identity, which I thoroughly enjoyed, which is all talking about identity and how you control that. And yeah, I mean, passwords are bad, but at least you can change them.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. You're in control of those. Yes, yes.
Yes. So no, I don't have a Nexus pass because fundamentally I do want to retain control of something. You know, the standards in Europe, maybe our product will be a big hit in Europe because I can assure you, you know, like the German market, they do not trust the government at all over there. Most of Europe, they don't trust the government. I mean, we have a very different perspective in North America that's not shared around the world by any means, and for very good reasons.
Yeah.
But anyways, with the Ping Identity, I thought it was interesting because you mentioned that you already group your you know, who you give personal information on based on, you know, Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook accounts and stuff like that. So you're a power user. You're doing that. You're doing the necessary things, and I think it'll take a while for everybody to realize that. And this is really just another technology on the device that allows you to prevent apps from stealing your account information and your personal information and allow you to have control of that. So.
Well, I'm thoroughly excited about what you guys are doing. Alec, where should we send people to find more information about what you guys are up to?
Well, we have our corporate website, which is graphitesoftware.com. We have our demo and more the consumer website, which talks about the product that is called securespaces.com. And you can also come visit us at Mobile World Congress in Hall 5 in booth
7,423,000.
Yeah, I don't know it. I don't have it in front of me. I apologize. But it's in Hall 5. So look us up in Mobile World Congress. We'd love to give you a demo. Love to show you what you can do, how fast it is, how simple it is to move back and forth, and even give you a taste of some of the branded spaces and that exciting opportunity as well.
I'm excited for you. Like, I love, you know, the greatest joy I get is well, there's two things. One of them is featuring Ottawa companies, because I think that you know, we are a talented community of software developers, manufacturers, just smart guys in this city and gals in this city. And the other thing that I love about what I do here is seeing the excitement around a product and the possibility of around a product, and not from me getting excited, but from somebody like you who's been doing this but still getting excited enough to come on and talk about it here, about the, you know, about your future, and to see it. Like, if you're not watching this, you're missing something here. Is that the little twinkle in the eye, you know? And I like that around CEOs and founders still getting excited about their products. So I thank you for doing this, Alec, and I wish you all the best going forward.
Oh, thank you very much, Rob, and I appreciate your excitement. So thanks for letting us share that.
Without a doubt, guys. I've been speaking with Alec Main, who is the co-founder and CEO, one of three founders at Graphite Software. Go to graphitesoftware.com if you'd like some more information. This is an Ottawa company, an up-and-coming company that you guys should watch. If you have any questions about this, I'm sure that you can reach Alec through the website at graphitesoftware.com. You can reach out to me at rob@untethered.tv, and I will pass on any information or any questions you have to Alec. Alec, thank you for doing this, man.
Thank you, Rob.
We'll see you next time on untethered.tv.